Joe Herrera, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so I appreciate you jumping on. So real quick, give us the, 30,000 foot view. Who is Joe? What does your world look like these days?
Love it. So from Vegas, went into real estate. I was young. I was 21 years old. Practiced solo for maybe 2 to 3 years. Brought on a kid that was, he was like a year or two older than me. But at the age of 23, 24, we started what's known as the Joe Taylor Group, which is a Vegas-based real estate team comprising of my first name and his first name, not overly creative. We were RE/MAX agents for the first 5 years of the existence of our team. Started 2 independent brokerages, basically one in 2010, one in 2016. We've always been producers. Our team does just around 1,000 units a year. Currently, for the last year and a half or so, we've been at Real Broker, transitioned over there with 90 agents and just crossed over 1,800 agents in our network. Superpower from 30,000 foot views lead generation. I've always been able to create Zillow quality leads for about 1/10 the cost of what Zillow charges. So in the last 3-4 months, we've started marketing on behalf of other agents in other markets to basically reduce their costs. A lot of the guys I are spending 7 or 8 a month with Zillow can do that same amount of production and lead generation for $2,000 a month with us. So
it's amazing.
That's kind of, yeah.
That's great. And that's what I want to unpack in today's episode, Joe, is to kind of get into the weeds of that and what it is that you guys do to build such a successful team, number one. And then number two, on the lead generation side, kind of getting into the strategy on your blueprint on helping these agents win from a lead generation standpoint. So first, let's talk about the team. Let's unpack the team. So you have how many producing agents on the team? Did you say 80? 90?
Right around 100.
Okay.
We've got way more than that, quote unquote, contracted with the team.
Sure.
But finding people in 2023 that are willing to work seems to be a challenge.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So as far as producers, yeah, we probably have 75 that actually do, on average, maybe 10 to 12 deals a year. We've got some outliers that do 50 or 60, and then we've got a whole slew of I don't even know what the opposite of an outlier is, a mainstreamer that does 0. So yeah, it's kind of everything in between.
Okay, so how is the team structured? You've got about 100 or so salespeople. Is there a support team that supports them, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, we've kind of boiled it down to a very simple principle, which is, if you were coming on our team, we'd say to you, well, Brendan, how many deals do you want to do a year? And if you said on an annual basis, I do, 18 to 20, I'd like to get it up to 25 to 30. We'd say, all right, we're going to give you, I'm a firm believer that your annual production will never outpace your monthly opportunity. Sorry. So if somebody wants to do 30 transactions a year, they need to have 30 opportunities per month. And then they need to couple with it the 30 deal per year activities. So all we do with agents is we'll say, if you want to do 30 transactions, we'll generate 30 opportunities for you, basically 30 potential clients that you can talk to. And then you have to do 30 deals worth of work. So what that looks like is, 30 transactions, maybe 200 conversations per month that lead to roughly 15 set appointments, which lead to 10 met appointments, which lead to, on the buy side, maybe three or 4 pre-qualified buyers that lead to 2 escrows a month. So it's like all we do is reverse engineer the thing. And then for us, it's so long as you keep up your work ethic, we will keep up our lead flow. In the past, we've thrown bad money or good money after bad, however the saying goes, where it's, hey, we'll do 30 leads a month, and then you just turn them whatever you want to turn them into. But as the economy shifted, it's harder to make the economics work. So we've really begun to tie our economic commitment to your work commitment. Some of our agents don't like it because what they want to do is cherry pick and sit back and just halfway work the leads and which of them convert. But we've gotten really, over the last 6 months, really committed to, we're not going to outspend your bad work ethic. And so it's like, if you put in the work, we're going to give you opportunities. If you don't put in the work, we're not going to give you the opportunities. Our ultimate job is to help you succeed. So mentorship, coaching, accountability, all that stuff is pre-baked into our team. But it's all tied to ultimately you choosing to put in the work to get the result. Because the easiest thing in the world for me to do is generate warm leads.
Right.
Like the leads we generate convert 5 to 7% if they're worked right. That's the easy part. The hard part is finding someone who's serious enough about their business to actually put in the work, because over the last, as you know, 4 to 7 years, you haven't had to work. You've just had to have a heartbeat and a willingness to answer your phone and a little bit of skills communicating with other agents, and you're going to do business. Well, that world is completely gone. And so it's been an adjustment period for us as leaders and for our agents as producers to adjust to the fact that in order to get what they've always got, they've got to do what they never did.
Yeah, well said. There's so much stuff you just said, Joe. And so let me kind of start off with, okay, if I'm an agent on the team, number one is, do you run the team environment where, all 100 people are in the office every day? Are they working at home? Are they all over the country? Are they local to Vegas? Tell us about the dynamic of the group.
So traditionally, there's been divisions. So we've had our quote unquote core team, which has more expectations on time in office and probably more and better opportunity. We've modified it now to where, and then we would have, we called it an affiliate program, which was kind of like do your own thing, powered by us. And then we do have teams in 4 or 5 different states, small satellite teams. For all of them now, whether in office, in Vegas, or across the states, we've gone to as pure we use CISU. And for us, it's like, if your effort is manifest in CISU on Monday, then you qualify for lead distribution during the week. I don't care if your work the previous week was done from the office, from the blackjack table, from the beach. I don't care where it was done, but it really boils down to contacts, because for us, It's a triage thing. So if somebody's making their contacts, let's say somebody has 100 conversations and sets 5 appointments and 0 of them show up, then we know that their issue is setting fake appointments.
Sure.
If they have 100 conversations, set 5 appointments, 4 show up, and they get 0 pre-quals out of it, then we know that they're terrible at appointment fulfillment. If they do all those things, they get pre-quals, but nothing's going into escrow, then we know that they're struggling with their negotiation skills and actually getting a deal put into escrow. So, if we don't have the analytics, I don't care where it's done from, the office, the beach, whatever, if we don't have the proper analytics, then we don't know how to help people.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Got it. Okay, so you've got agents, across the spectrum. Some are in the office, some are at home, some are in other states, some are local. But really what you're saying is you're managing it just like a business from an analytical standpoint to say, hey, we're gonna make data-driven leadership decisions based on these behaviors that then dictate our leadership actions, which I think makes a lot of sense. I love it, because I think what you're saying is a lot of people in our industry, agents and or leaders, make all their decisions on emotion, and there is no data to back up their decisions. It's just like, I've got a feeling this is working or this is not working, but there's no data to back it up. All right, so let's get into the lead generation machine that you guys have built. So 1,000 units on your team. What does that look like in gross volume? What'd you guys do in 2022?
I think we were right around 350 million.
Got it. Okay. And then of that, is it broken up a certain way, buy side, sell side? Are you guys like a 50-50 team, a 70-30 team? What does that look like?
I would say it's right around 70-30.
Got it.
What we found is, of the leads we generate, about 60% of them also have a home they need to sell. But then if you look at our volume of 1,000 units, probably 3 to 350 of them will be from our lead generation side. And then the other 6 to 650 are deals that were generated by agents, either
absolutely
SOI, open house.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, got it. So the leads that you're talking about, right? 30 opportunities or getting to the blueprint that you kind of outlined. You talked about having a 5 to 7% conversion, right? I just had another top team on the podcast 2 days ago, and they'll do 700 million this year, and he said a number way lower. He's like, you're lucky if you get a 1%. If you're at 1%, you're probably of the top converters in the world. You just said 5 to 7%, and that is a massive, massive increase. So we've got to know, because if I don't ask people in the audience, Joe, like, what, you didn't ask him about that number? So let's break it down. How are you generating the leads? Like, what is this, high level strategy?
Sure.
And then walk us through your conversion process, if you could. Like, are you running them from Facebook, Google? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. The origin is not nearly as important as the process. So if I was running a PPC team or a YLOPO team or something like that, my conversion would be a lot lower, because anything that requires forced registration, anything that requires a filling out of a form, is going to kill your conversion rate. That's point number one. So I would say the true conversion rate of our leads, I personally don't take accountability if the agents don't contact them. So if we did a full, 100 leads created, how many turn into a deal? It's probably closer to 2 to 3%. But what I do is I remove the people that do zero.
Got it.
I'm not going to let my, I'm not going to kill my numbers because an agent kills their effort. So when I say 5 to 7% conversion, that is from those who actually work. There's a whole slew of our leads that get 0% conversion because the agent sucks or they don't put in the work. So our leads are converted. And this is what we tell, like when we onboard a client, they're like, hey, what can I expect conversion wise? I always tell them you're going to end up with 3 conversion rates. The first conversion rate is by an absolute killer. They're going to convert about 7%. Yep. So like Angie on our team or Jake on our team, they do 6 to 7% conversion, meaning every 100 leads we get them will manifest in 5 to 7 transactions over the course of 12 to 18 months.
Sure.
And then there's the average agent in both work ethic and skill. 100 leads we give them will turn into about 3 transactions over 12 to 18 months. And then there is, well, I would say that's the average agent. Then there's the average realtor who might convert 1% of them, but they're the exact same lead. It's just their work ethic, their skill set, and all of those things murder our conversion rate. So I don't hold myself accountable to it unless I know that the person actually works them. And so that's been the most frustrating part for me as a team leader, is to say, man, if I give Angie 100 leads, she's going to convert 6 or 7. And if I give Susie 100 leads, she's going to convert 0. And they're the exact same lead. Yeah. So that's an issue. But for us, the secret's in the process. We don't do forced registration. The easiest thing in the world for me to do is create forced registration leads from from Google or Facebook or whatever. And I can generate them for 50 cents to $1 a piece.
Sure.
The issue ultimately over time is even your above average agents are going to get burnt out.
Right.
Because for us, when we hand a lead to an agent, they're about 90% contactable, meaning out of 10 leads we give an agent, they can have conversations with 9 of them, versus PPC and things like that, those 1% at best leads. It's almost like you could flip it upside down and say you're only going to be able to contact 10%.
100% agree.
The issue is you have to call all 100 to have 10 conversations, which very few agents will do. And if they do it at all, they end up getting burnt out over time. So for us, we give an agent about 30 to 40 leads a month. That's it. We expect 1 to 2 transactions out of it. but it's because of the 40 leads they're given, they can have conversations with 32 of them.
Why is that? So if it's not forced registration, what is it that causes the lead to be generated through paid traffic?
It's communication through things like Messenger or your DMs on Instagram or things like that. So we communicate with individuals before we ever actually create a lead. So in the past, somebody would land on a form where they would put in, like Big Bird at goscrewyourself.com with a phone number. Yeah. And then the agent that receives the lead would have to call them and the other 99 people, some of whom are real, some of them are not. But that forced registration was a digital paywall, even if there's no currency exchange. The currency exchange is information. And so the consumer got wise, and they would just put fake information in. Sometimes it's massively fake, like Simpson, and then sometimes it's Bill Johnson, and the guy's real name is Scott Thomas, and his phone number is off by 1 or 2 digits, and he creates Scott at gmail.com. And so for us, we communicate with them before we ever create the contact record, so that they know they're going to be contacted by a real estate professional. They know that individual is going to be reaching out with additional information on a property or program or whatever it is. So then there is no reason for them to give us their contact information unless they know and are comfortable with being contacted. Because the people who are like, screw you, just send me the information via Messenger, we eliminate them before ever assigning them to an agent. So what our agents don't deal with is lead fatigue.
Yeah.
There's no time where they're like, man, I got 400 leads to call just to try to have conversations with 10 people. With our people, like, I have 40 leads to call, and I know I'm going to be able to talk to 30 to 35 of them.
It's amazing. So you guys have just, as a leadership team, have decided, hey, we're going to go quality over the quantity game, and obviously it's really worked out well. It's amazing. So the expectation for team members, they're going to get, it sounds like if they're doing the right things, they're going to get 30 or so opportunities a month from the team. Is there an expectation for them to be in self-generation as well, so they're bringing something to the table? Or do most of the agents just kind of convert what they're getting from the team, and then over time, naturally, their sphere starts to pick up? Because you just said what I picked up on, probably almost 70% of the business from the team is through agents' sphere of influence or referrals, and 30% are from leads. So is that a process that's happening naturally, or do you guys strategically say, okay, here's the plan to go after your sphere or generate business on your own?
So I think it's more of a recognition of the way it's going to happen. Like, one of the weaknesses of our team is we don't teach SOI, like generation or conversion, very much, because for us, we kind of dummy it down to the lowest common denominator, which is for those who are going to actually put in the work, they don't need to hammer on their SOI.
That's right.
Because if you look at national average of closing, it's 3. So if we get an agent to 25, they're 9 times as successful as the average agent, with a few outliers that do 40 to 50 transactions. But for the most part, we're trying to transition away from a team of rock stars to a team of slightly above average. I know that's not very sexy, but like in the past, over the last couple of years, we would do 300 lead conversions, but it would be done by maybe 8 to 10 agents out of 60.
Right.
What I want to get to is where we have 100 agents who average 12 transactions. So an outlier may do 25, and a really poor agent may do 5, but then the average is 10 to 12, where we were banking on for a while an average of 18 to 20. And I just think the change in the market is necessitating a change in approach from teams. So right now, our goal is get 100 agents taking leads that average 12 deals closed, with at least 50 to 60% of them being lead closures. I think the economic averages have been, if an agent's on our team, we try to get them to close 18, with 8 to 10 of them being leads, but in reality, it ends up being like 7 SOI deals and 6 leads a year. So like 13 deals per agent on average. But it hasn't been in the ratio we've wanted it to be because we haven't until recently tied lead distribution to their effort. The lead distribution is basically tied to their heartbeat. And so I'm excited to see over 2023 it play out that if a person puts in more effort, they get more opportunity. Yeah. And in the past, you said something that's been 100% true. I'm a highly emotionally based leader. If somebody walks through the door and they're dressed right and they smile and they seem happy, I'm like, bro, let's give them more opportunity. But that doesn't mean that they're working harder. It doesn't mean that they're going to produce extra results. So we're going to get very granular as far as your effort determines your opportunity, which will determine your result. Where in the past, it's been your attitude determines your opportunity, and it's had very little effect on result.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a whole episode we could unpack later. So your cost per lead with the leads that you guys are generating for the team, what is that cost per lead look like right now?
So in Vegas, Zillow will do it for about $300 to $350 per lead. We're usually in the $20 to $35 per lead range.
That's great. That's amazing. Yeah. So if an agent, I don't know if you guys have done the unit economics, but if an agent closes on a deal, what do the margins look like for the team? I mean, are you guys around 30% margin? Is that where you try to be, or is it higher?
Roughly.
Yeah,
roughly. Yeah. So we'll go through periods where we end up at 50% margin.
Yeah.
Well, not 50. I think because Taylor and I are not in production, the best margin we could possibly have would be 50.
Absolutely.
But even then, once we factor in transaction fees and things like that, we're probably closer to 45. Yep. Our margins end up being roughly 25 to 30%.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah. And then the other thing I'm kind of curious about is how your team is structured from the standpoint, are your agents only responsible for conversion, or are they also responsible for, contract to close, or do you guys have transaction coordinators that take that part and your agents can just focus on converting leads?
Exactly. We have full transaction management. So scheduling of inspection, negotiating of repairs, appraisal negotiations, all that stuff's done by a full transaction management team. Ideally, our agents would focus just on conversion and deal creation, and then our in-house team would deal with closing fulfillment. Depending on the agent, brand new agents, obviously there's no issue. They just view that as like the way business is done. More experienced agents have more resistance to that because they're used to controlling the file themselves. But also that's why you see deal waves, in that like an agent works really hard, gets 3 or 4 deals put together, fulfills them. By month 6, they've closed 4 deals, but they're back to square zero. For us, we try to create a more 2 transactions per month, created, fulfilled, and they never get out of deal creation mode. So it just depends on how much they are willing to commit to the transaction management. But then again, it's funny because people get hyped up about things, but transaction management has its own set of issues.
Absolutely.
Because you'll have a transaction manager that goes from 0 deals, then they get started, then they're closing 30 transactions a month, they're getting $250 a pop, and now they're making $7 or $8 grand a month, and then they get attitudes and cocky. So it's like
the same thing.
None of this stuff none of it autopilots itself, right? Like this is where Taylor and I have had conversations lately, like 70 to 80% of our stress comes from our team. Where you look at something, our national network, as we mentioned, 1,800 agents in our network. I mean, last year we made $1 million off of rev share. Yep. So it's like, man, why don't we just do more of that and just keep pouring into that? We've got an investment business that's a 7-figure business where we bought almost 100 homes last year. We're going to do 130 homes this year, wholesaling. It's like that. It's like, man, why are we even messing with this sloppy,
complex,
labor-intensive, stressful team? And to us, we've always come back to proof of concept. So we just launched our coaching program, and we're doing lead generation for other agents, and we're building a national network. And so it's like our team has become less of the way we feed our families and more of the way we have proof of concept to validate who we are as real estate practitioners. Because as much as I respect the grind of like a Tom Ferry, who's never been in the practice of real estate, I very much enjoy being able to get on the phone with a team leader and say, well, we dealt with that issue in 2017, and here's how we overcame it. Here was analytics around what effect it had on us. And so without the team being proof of concept, even though dollar per hour, our team is the least money producing activity we do. With owning a title company is the highest dollar per hour, but obviously there's limitations around how many of those hours we can create. And so it's fun to geek out on, if we look at time spent in our investment business, time spent in our network, time spent on our ancillaries, and then time spent on our team. The time spent on our team is significantly the lowest dollar per hour we earn.
Yeah, Joe, I totally get it. And I totally agree. You know, my team will do $750 million this year, and it's very complex. It's a very difficult operation to run, and it's hard. But I also, from a coaching standpoint, like the fact that this is what I'm doing. It's not a theory. It's not, hey, here's what I heard that works. That's a whole nother thing too. You brought up the whole Tom Ferry thing. It's like, I just don't know how people can get advice from someone who isn't doing it. That part for me is a thing that I can never understand. And a lot of people have their opinions, you know, I'm sure they're going to comment on that, but it's like, I just cannot respect or take the advice from others in something I'm looking to accomplish if that person has never accomplished it themselves. For whatever reason, I can't do it. It's very difficult for me to take advice on how to get, you know, really, really good shape from someone who has overweight and have diabetes and they're unhealthy. It's like, I just can't put those two things together. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but.
Right. No, I mean, I get it. There's no doubt in my mind that Tom provides immense value to the people in his world. And there's no doubt in my mind, I mean, it's undebatable really that he is the world's most successful real estate coach in 2023. I get it. I think we just all have our appetites. I said the same thing. My wife and I were talking last night. She's going to a women's conference where the individual presenting nutritional guidance is not aspirational. Like, they're not somebody that even, so I struggle with that because I'm like, well, you know, why our coach has always been a guy named Brett Tanner, Keller Williams agent out of Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Brett practices everything he preaches. So it's easier for me to say like, hey, how would you build this and this and this? I think one of the things people like Tom are just masters at is curation. Yeah. So if you go to a Tom Ferry conference, yes, there's great information coming from the stage, but the person to your left and person from your right, like Tom builds a community so that he doesn't have to know everything. He's able to go like, hey, that's a great question, Billy. Let me connect you with Sue because she's just, you know what I mean?
Point. Like, oh, 1,000% you're spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't take coaching from people that have never done what I'm trying to do, but it's undeniable that so many of the people that crush it in our industry do take coaching from people that don't practice what we do. And so I personally wouldn't pay for coaching, but it's undeniable that so many people do.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys, Joe? So if you look ahead, if you could share maybe a little bit of your vision, something that you're really excited about that you want to share with the audience, that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, for our team, I'm excited to see how the numbers play out where we're highly focused on tying opportunity to effort. For our network, we joined Real with 90 agents 18 months ago. We're now at 1,800 agents. Mm-hmm. So as it pans out, I don't know if we'll continue the growth of 100 agents up or not, but I'm excited to see at year 4, are we at 5,000 agents in our network. The profitability metrics around the ecosystem that companies like Real provide are nuts. Like, I love being able to make money that has no cost basis run against it. Mm-hmm. We pretty much have fixed costs on our network stuff. It costs us maybe $15,000 to $20,000 a month to run our network. So as our revenue share continues to grow, like we were running at an 80% profit margin, now we're getting up to like a 95% profit margin. So at some point we'll be at like a 90% profit margin, which is crazy. We're big in the investment space. I think you're going to see us continue to acquire properties, getting into hard money lending. I think there's a massive opportunity on, there's a window of time right now that we have where property values have maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Money has gotten more expensive and harder to come by, and the job market's gotten harder. And so you have all these individuals that have 40 to 60% equity in their home. So they owe 500,000 on a home that's worth $1 million, and they have operational needs for their business. So it provides an opportunity for us to come in, and lines of credit are frozen. So you have individuals like Wells Fargo who no longer is issuing seconds in the form of lines of credit. So like there's a massive opportunity for us to hop in and do quick hit seconds for, like, we had one of the largest, crazy business owner hit us up last week. They needed 40 grand to meet some medical needs for their company, and they were willing to pay us 24% on it. It's like and second on their home, which is a no-brainer. So we're going to geek out on that. We're toying with things like, we have a JV in mortgage. We have ownership in a title company, which is exciting. We're getting solar, which I think is a big opportunity. The tax incentives on solar, very natural to take that to our agents and say, hey, when you sell a home, introduce them to solar, and you get a $2,000 bump for, making the referral there. So we're excited about that. We just launched our coaching program, which is an ancillary-based coaching program where everything is a appendage. So we've got a lead generation side to it. We're going to have a team leader side to it. We're going to have an agent boot camp on a weekly basis. We're going to have lead conversion as a specialty, operations as a specialty, branding as a specialty. So we're getting kind of geeking out on some of that. So we're just, we are constantly looking for a combination of ways we can help the individuals in our industry while putting the time that we donate to our craft in the highest dollar per hour effort on a compounding, principle. So hard money looks super attractive right now. Coaching looks super attractive right now. I really enjoy the lead generation side of it because
I know you do. That's your thing. Yeah.
Well, it's just people are getting screwed, right? Like,
yep.
I'm just convinced that the more people get in bed with Zillow and Realtor.com, the more they're going to be held hostage by those institutions. So, and there are some people that execute and crush it. But when you look at units done, it would be really hard to be running a Zillow Flex account and have your profit margins any higher than 15%. Because to begin with, 35% going to Zillow. And if your agents are closing deals, at least 32% is going to them. So now you're at best a 33% profit margin if you have no staff, no overhead, no location, any of that. So when you factor in, like, man, it's going to cost you 15 to 20% to run that, you're now a team leader running at a 10 to 15% margin in any increase on behalf of Zillow. So what you're going to see companies like Zillow and Realtor.com do, specifically Zillow, is they're going to go like, hey, the Flex stuff is not any long. So good news, you're going to get fully pre-qualified buyers with Zillow Mortgage who also have some sort of incentive coming from Zillow Title, but the lead is now at 45% cost back to Zillow, and you have to use our mortgage company.
Right.
So it's like, man, how do you even make money in that environment? For those reasons, I'm highly passionate about our lead generation program, because for us, all the growth is done on the agent's social channels, not ours. Mm-hmm. They own the lead, not us. It's not tied to use of a title company or a mortgage company. So like at a cost of, let's say a team can convert 30 or 5% of leads. 100 leads will cost them about $3,500, and 100 leads should yield 5 transactions. So now the cost per lead to us is maybe $600 or $700, as opposed to 35 to 45% to Zillow Flex.
It's a no-brainer.
It's just, so I'm passionate. Well, I'm passionate about it because it's my superpower, but it also gets agents out of paying $7 or $8 a month to Zillow. They pay $2,000 to $3,000 a month to us at the same conversion rates with no tied to ancillary services. So for us, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I love it, Joe. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate the conversation. I know we got in the weeds of things. And so hopefully the people that really understand this business at the level that you do got a lot out of today's episode. But if people want to just learn more about your world or getting involved with you in your world, where's the best place for them to get more information?
Instagram. So it's just at Joe Herrera. I'm not incredibly hard to find, but I find that I respond to you, and I were DMing this morning on Insta. Yep. It's like my preferred mode. I would rather do that than text message. Yep. Text message almost feels too sacred, right? So Instagram's the easiest way. I check my DMs 20 times a day. So if anyone wants to connect, that's the best channel.
Joe, I appreciate you very much, brother.
Thanks, buddy.